Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
But when you get that right there at home, to come back and and win that game, that goes far into that you can use that going into playoff. I'm saying I was mentioning all them interceptions because I was trying to get my man Kirk Cousins back in this MVP race.
Come on.
When you making plays like that, you don't like that? You don't like that?
I bet you like that.
You like that? You gotta like that. When you making plays like that, and you're coming back like that, I gotta give my man Kirk Cousins some credit for making those plays, man. And if Patrick Mahomes brought a team back like that, we would be, showering praise and straight love.
The Michael Irvin is right.
Let's
explore this in a second, okay?
Yeah.
And we'll get to the state of the offense. We're doing state of the offense on Tuesday this week because they play on a Saturday, so we're going to move some stuff up this week, do our picks on Friday, etc. This is Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we just want the Vikings to win a dang Super Bowl before we die. And the show is presented in part by our friends at TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL brings you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Surly brings you joy as well. We should mention that.
It brings you absolute joy. Or you know what? If things aren't going well, i.e. the first half on Saturday, it brings you comfort. That's right, because Surly has something for everyone with a team of beers that's the best team in town. Furious, Logic Bomb, Before I Die. I could go on and on. It's that good, but all I can tell you is as Christmas nears, don't forget, get out and get some Surly. Drink responsibly, but enjoy the holidays with the best beer in town, and that's Surly.
Yes. So Michael Irvin, who I think he floated Kirk as an MVP before the season, right? So it might be a little bit of confirmation bias. He's trying to protect his take from 4 months ago. But to forget about the MVP thing for a second. The specific point about what happened in that game on Saturday, the biggest comeback in NFL history, it's barely being talked about. The Raiders win over the Patriots in dramatic fashion is being talked about more. I would argue that the Jaguars win over the Cowboys with Trevor Lawrence is being talked about more.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I've tried to flip around a little bit here and there. It's like it's mentioned. They'll show like the Dalvin screen pass or something, and then it's like, oh, yeah, it was a crazy game. Okay, let's talk about something else. If it would have been Josh Allen, or if it would have been Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, if it was Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, we'd be talking about, like, does this make them the greatest? I mean, Brady already is, but it would have been a week-long conversation. I think he's right.
So, first of all, I guess I've seen this, and I think it started with PFF. So PFF's premise is Kirk didn't play that well because the first half was so bad.
Yeah.
And the Cook touchdown is off a screen pass, which, by the way, the Vikings have been awful at. I give everyone credit because it worked. But I guess they've said, well, Cook did all of the work on that play. Kirk did no work, which is sort of weird. Like, I do quibble with PFF on a statement like that. I understand what they're saying, but Kirk Cousins did a great job.
That's also just one of, like, a bunch of touchdowns.
The second thing is play that clip back and look at Stephen A. Smith's face. Like, this is how the national media feels.
Do you want to actually play the clip back?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Play that clip back. And while Irvin's talking and they pull the camera out, look at Stephen A.'s face.
But when you get that right there at home, to come back and and win that game, that goes far into that you can use that going into playoff. I'm saying I was mentioning all them interceptions because I was trying to get my man Kirk Cousins back in this MVP race.
Come on.
When you making plays like that, you don't like that? You don't like that?
I bet you like that.
You like that? You gotta like that. When you making plays like that, and you're coming back like that, I gotta give my man Kirk Cousins some credit for making those plays, man. And if Patrick Mahomes brought a team back like that, we would be, showering praise and straight love.
Look at their faces.
Orlovsky is more like apoplectic than Stephen A. Like,
but I mean, they both are dismissive of it.
Orlovsky's dismissive of the MVP thing, I think they're both like pondering on I guess, would we have done more segments on First Take and Get Up and all these shows about? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think Kirk is the MVP, but I think it's to laugh about that. Dude, the guy has 7 fourth quarter comebacks this season.
Right.
And the greatest comeback in NFL history. You can't just, I get that Patrick Mahomes is probably the MVP, but to say, what about Kirk, is not a laughable follow-up question.
Yes. And what the Vikings did, and I understand the analytics go and the point differential goes against the Vikings. I get all of that. But yes, I think that if a team like the Bucks or a New York team, so it would not be really, really, really far-fetched to let's flip the Giants and Vikings, okay? So like, let's say the Giants had stayed red hot, and like the Giants the Vikings were the team that tailed off. Do you really think the Giants would be being dismissed right now like the Vikings are? There's no way.
And to add to it, let's say Daniel Jones had 7 fourth quarter comebacks and was what helped architect a 33-point historical comeback. Yes. The conversation would be less about how fraudulent the Giants were, and it would be more about the magic that the Giants are playing with, and 100%. And they'd be comparing it to the Eli run of 2007 or the 11 run of, like, sometimes you just get hot and things are going your way. And I think part of it's also the Vikings' history. They don't have a history of this ending well. So because of their history and because it's Kirk, all of it put in a stew, and it's not a huge market because part of the strategy for ESPN too is if they can lean into the Dallas market or lean into
absolutely,
the Los Angeles market or the New York market, they're going to get better ratings or viewership or listenership. So I totally understand that game, but it is kind of amazing. I mean, we're 72 hours past that game, and it's like kind of crickets. It happened. They literally dethroned. How many times have you guys seen the Frank Reich highlights? The Buffalo Bills coming back on the Oilers, and yes, it was a playoff game, but that also propelled them to a Super Bowl trip too. One of 4 straight Super Bowl trips. So.
Yep.
I don't want to be the old, like, we're just flyover country. Woe is us. No one talks about us. I generally don't care about that. Yep. But it is fascinating to see the lack of discussion and reaction to what happened on Saturday.
I think the last thing on Kirk is this. So Kirk has not been statistically great, but he has been incredibly clutch. I think on this show, we're like, yeah, hell yeah. He's played great.
Give me that all day. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people, though, in the national media who talked about Kirk like we did before this year started, and I think it's hard for them to back off their takes.
But that's the thing. It's you wouldn't be backing off your take. You would be soaking in new information that Kirk has provided. That's the biggest thing. Well, you must feel foolish if you've been ripping Kirk all these years. No, not at all.
Yep.
Kirk delivered very few times in these situations that he is this season. Last year, again, he started to last year. It was the evolution of Kirk, 10 years in the NFL, finally starting to sort of figure out how to operate in endgame situations. But if you can't move off of, you wouldn't be moving off your take. Your take was, if you were critical of Kirk for these reasons 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3-2, you were correct. But this year, if you think that he is just the same old Kirk, it's the same guy as that was in Washington, it's the same guy that existed the first 3 years as a Viking, you would be incorrect. You're not moving off your take. You're consuming new information. You're watching new things happen, and you're evaluating based on that. Like, that's what's happening.
There's 2 things that, if you've been to journalism school, that they always talk about. It's, do you want to be first or do you want to be right? And obviously with news and when you're reporting things, of course, you need to be right before you're ever first. But there's this race and there's this, there's this integrity or drive of, I want to be first to something. Well, with your takes, it's also still kind of blends together a little bit. Like, I was the first person to say Kirk Cousins was the greatest quarterback of all time in 2016, and I will not move off that take. And now that it's happened in 2022, validate me. Well,
yeah, you were wrong then. Yeah. You were wrong 3 years ago. You're still wrong now because, like, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL.
Correct.
But yeah, like, it's circumstances
It evolves. Yeah. But for whatever reason, then we're like, but you were the first one to say this about Kirk in the negative way. So now you're right and you're wrong. It's infuriating. It's this weird game that we all love to play.
It's kind of it's like a generational problem. I think with us millennials and then the Gen Zers, you dig your heels in on something and you refuse to change. This is all good fodder here leading into our state of the offense discussion, which normally we hold on Thursdays, but because it's another kind of weird week with a Saturday game, we're going to move some stuff around this week. So I'm going to give you guys the overall snapshot of where the Vikings stand and then 4 categories of interest regarding the Vikings offense, the first one surrounding Kirk. So this will be kind of a Kirk-themed episode to start. And then we will get into the pigskin pecking order. Where do the Vikings rank right now? And some nitpicks as well. So the overall snapshot, the Vikings are currently the 8th best offense points per game in the league. Yardage, they are tied for 15th yards per play. Expected points added, which is a process-oriented metric, they are 18th. And DVOA, another process-oriented metric, they are 20th, according to Football Outsiders. But so if you look at process, 15th, 18th, 20th. If you look at points or output, they are a top 10 offense, now a top 8 offense. And if you would have asked me before the season, hey, what's your expectation? And we did do this. I would have said solidly in the top 10. I would prefer them be like a top 7 or 8 offense scoring. And they are. It's been a kind of a wacky path to get there where they just like don't score in the first half, but then drop 39 in the second half in overtime. But what do you make of this? They are now the 8th best scoring offense in the league.
So if I'm not mistaken, going into the game on Saturday, I looked this up. I think they had dropped to 11th. And so they spiked up to 8 now. But yes, this is among the things that we discussed as basically being necessary to make the playoffs. And in the case of the Vikings, of course, they've now won the division. We all said, I think, that they need to be with an offensive coach in the top 10. And so is the process what I expected? No, it's not. Until Saturday, the third quarter was a disaster. It was a complete disaster. So if you had explained this to me in July and said, okay, here's the process for how they're going to get to 8th, I'd be like, that's not going to work. But if I had my druthers and the process could be better, but the scoring was lower, I'll take the scoring. So I think that I think you've ended up in a place where you're pretty comfortable with what your offense is producing from a point standpoint, even if you didn't get there exactly how we thought would probably be the path.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is my issue. I think with like PFF. Let's take PFF for example. We lean on PFF for some of the trench play stuff for sure, and generally, so PFF is also a paid consultant for I think all 32 teams. So teams validate and buy into PFF. It's hard as a fan to sit there and grade a left guard relative to the rest of the left guards in the NFL. So like you have to lean on them to some extent. But if you watch that game on Sunday or Saturday and think, yeah, Kirk didn't do a whole lot, what kind of mental gymnastics do you have to go through to determine that a 400-yard second half and a 33-point comeback wasn't at least largely driven by the quarterback, you know?
Yes.
So like stuff like that. And then some of these other, evaluators that look at, well, the way that they're going about their offense, 20th in DVOA, 18th in expected points added, 18th. Actual points, 8th.
Right.
To me, that gap is a big deal in October or November when you're trying to predict. But we are sitting here on December 20th at this point, and they have just found a way through being good in the red zone and through other means, not committing a bunch of penalties, to have a top 10 scoring offense. So I buy more into the actual points at this point in the season than the predictive value of, say, expected points added.
And this is what makes sports great, right? Like this, the unpredictability of the predictable is what makes sports fun. The Vikings had no business, I don't care who their opponent was on Saturday, winning that football game. They played a terrible first half. They're down by 33 bleeping points, and they come back. So look, I mean, I'm all for statistical analysis I think it's important. I think it can really help you. But as a fan, is that going to be the be all and end all? Absolutely not. So yes, if you score the points, that's what we want. Now, I do think it tells you where I will defend this a bit is I do think that this tells you down the road where your process probably has to improve.
Agreed.
So like you don't ignore
how
it.
replicatable is it? Probably not.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't think you scoff and throw the spreadsheets away and oh, screw this. I think that you can learn from those things. But again, there are some years where things get weird. This is definitely a weird year.
So let's get into the categories here. State of the offense. Category number 1 is a new Kirk Cousins. Okay. So let's go back to close games, fourth quarter, overtime, and we'll use expected points added. None of these are perfect, but there's some telling stuff in here. Close games, fourth quarter, overtime, expected points added, quarterback position. This year, Kirk ranks second in those situations behind Patrick Mahomes. Let that sink in for a second. Close games, fourth quarter, overtime, Kirk second. 2018-19, his first 2 years as Vikings quarterback, he was 19th in those situations, behind guys like Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill. Now, he did pop up in 2020 and was ranked in the top 2 or 3 expected points added. And then 2021, he went back outside the top 10. So he kind of showed some flat. It's not been like this garbage, amazing. He has shown you improvement in these areas, but this year's been different. Also, here's a crazy one. First 2 years as a Viking, 2018-19. Close games, fourth quarter, overtime. Cousins averaged 3.3 air yards per throw. 3.3 air yards per throw beyond the line of scrimmage. Late and close. Oh, God. Yep. Check. This year, 8 air yards per throw in those fourth quarter overtime close games.
Yes.
Go find Jefferson. Stop throwing it to Rudolph 3 yards in the flat.
And that is where O'Connell has absolutely positively got in Kirk's head.
Yep.
Which is what made the previous season so intriguing was if Kirk is basically allowed to work under Kirk's own devices, he's going to take the safe throw. He's going to take the statistics. I'm not even saying this selfishly. I'm just saying it was a product of the play, right?
Well, he didn't want to. Yeah, his main ETH. I mean, he wrote about this. We talked about this in his biography. Like, he starts his autobiography with a story about how he threw like a dumb interception against Notre Dame in college, and how like from that point forward he was not going to be the reason why his team lost games. And that's great, but sometimes you have to flip it, and he has.
You have to be the reason why your team wins games. You can't think of it as losses. You've got to think of it in terms of risk to win.
So I think the air yards thing is the most interesting because it's truly a process-driven stat. It's like the first couple years as a Viking, hey, fourth quarter, it's close, it's late, and he's just dinking and dunking 3 yards in the air per throw. Now it's almost triple that. It's up to 8.
Go back to Buffalo, the throw to Jefferson, which was the great catch, and go back. And we talked about this at the time. Hawkinson is open, and he might have got a first down, but it was well short of the sticks. And I will go to my grave saying Kirk makes that before 2022. That's the throw he makes.
Yep. Here's another one under a new Kirk Cousins umbrella. So prior to this season, Cousins had only 5 wins in his career, or his teams did, if you will, when he was asked to throw the ball 42 or more times in a game. So there was 23 games in which Cousins was asked, based on the game flow, to throw the ball 42 times or more, and his team won only 5 of those 23 games. Mahomes, by the way, in a shorter sample, had 21 wins in those situations. Justin Herbert has 10 just in the last 2.5 years. Josh Allen has 8 in the last 2.5 years. So some of the better quarterbacks in the NFL have, hey, we're going to put the ball in your hands a lot, 42, 45, 50 times. And generally, if your quarterback's throwing 50 times, it's not a great sign unless you're the Chiefs.
Right.
So I'm not saying that, like, these guys are, winning at a 700 clip, but it's not a thing that happened often with Kirk. He is 2-0 in those games this year. The game against Buffalo and the game against Indianapolis. Also 2 great comebacks where they've said, dude, based on the game flow, you're going to have to throw it a bunch today. And he is 2-0 in those games where he's been asked to throw 42 times or more. So I find that kind of interesting. He hasn't been the guy that you just say, here's the ball, go throw till your arm falls off and bail us out. That's not been him in his career. He needs the running game, needs the play action, needs the game flow to be right more often than not. But this year's kind of a different story again.
Yeah, and that's what, in Buffalo down by 17, against the Colts down by 33 at the half. So yeah, I mean, at some point in time, and it doesn't surprise me that he can do that. Again, you know what was so weird about especially Saturday's game? Saturday's game was, it felt like for a while in the second half, old Kirk, right? Like he's going to get a ton of stats now, and it's going to be, and he saw it through. He got the comeback. There have been situations where he does thrive there. Unfortunately, it felt like for 3 or 4 years, it usually fell short. It didn't always, but it often did. On Saturday, it culminated with a win. But with the arm talent that guy has, that one doesn't shock me. That if you realistically rely on him in times of need and have a top receiver as good as Jefferson, that can work.
Mm-hmm. All right, next category. Unless you guys, because you brought up Jefferson, so unless you guys have any more just final Kirk thoughts here for now, we'll move into his ace weapon here.
Good.
And the category is, holy crap, Justin Jefferson. Here's a list of the categories he leads the NFL in among receivers.
Yeah.
This is an incomplete list. I just sort of stopped after a while. He leads the NFL in targets, 158.
Yeah.
Receptions, 111. Receiving yards, 1,623. Receptions of 20 yards or more. Receptions of 40 yards or more. First downs, contested catches, catches versus man coverage, yards after the catch, and yards per route run out of the slot.
It's ridiculous.
There's more. I just sort of stopped after like 10 because he's ridiculous.
Out of the slot?
He has the most yards per route run out of the slot. Yes. When he lines up in the slot versus like when other guys line up in the slot, how many yards per route run? He leads the NFL.
How are we not having discussions nationally about him being an MVP candidate?
What are the current odds? Let me pull up the odds.
And I know Mahomes is going to win. Okay, I get that. And it's a quarterback award. I get that. But my God, if we're ever going to give the award to a guy who doesn't play quarterback, how is this guy? I mean, how are we not discussing this?
Here's DraftKings from this week. Okay, interesting. Jalen Hurts is a minus 150. Mahomes is a plus 165. So Hurts is the odds-on favorite.
Okay.
Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are plus 1,000, and then there's a huge gap. Tua and Justin Jefferson are tied for 5th at plus 10,000. Herbert plus 13,000. Tyreek Hill, Kirk Cousins tied at plus 20,000. So Kirk getting a little love here with fourth quarter comebacks.
Yep.
And then Christian McCaffrey plus 25,000. So both Kirk and JJ represented in the top 10, 5 through 10.
I think Justin Jefferson is I think if I was to boil it down, Hurts, Mahomes, Jefferson.
Burrow though, man.
Burrow's unreal.
He's fantastic, but we're talking about the most valuable player, okay? You take Mahomes off the Chiefs, it's a huge gap. Hurts has played great. But Justin Jefferson, if you take him off this team, and he is not a quarterback too. Like to me, it's more impressive.
I would tweak it and say he should not be tied with Tua. He should be Burrow deserves to be in the conversation, but I think it feels like Tua is more product of system than driving force, but they did lose games when he was out, so I get that argument too.
But now they've lost some games since he came back, so that's a fair thing to broach as well. But I'm just
moving down.
What Jefferson's done to me is otherworldly.
If Jefferson just hits his season averages in the last 3 games, he would finish with 135 catches for 1,971 yards, and I believe that would break Calvin Johnson's single-season yardage record. Of course, he gets the extra game, so there's that. But he's definitely going to flirt with 2,000 yards and the single-season NFL receiving record.
If he's flirting with 2,000 yards, do you play him if you have the second seed locked up going into Chicago? Do you play him in that game?
I don't chase a lot in that game. I would, especially because you're about to embark on potentially, if all goes well, 4 playoff games in 4 weeks. I would sneak a bye week in there for those guys. There's going to be other chances for him in the future, and it's not that shouldn't be as important as just making sure that you're healthy going into a wild card weekend game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get to the third and fourth categories and our current NFL team rankings, a shout out to our friends over at Livia for helping people get a head start. You don't have to wait till January 1st to change your life. You can get a head start going into these holiday weekends here, Judd.
That's correct. In fact, now for a year plus, down 40 pounds. And here's the most important thing. My friends at Livia are helping me keep that weight off. That is the most important thing. And right now, their award-winning program. If you join now, save 50%. That's right. For the holidays, give yourself the gift of health. Save 50%, and you will lose weight quickly. By spring, you're going to look great, feel great. All those clothes that don't fit now will fit. 855 go LIVEA, Livia.com, LIVEA.com. Check them out. And again, 50% savings if you contact them now. You will be glad that you did when all those clothes that didn't fit you again.
Oh, Maya Mackey is she's loving the holiday food spread. It's the same as the non-holiday food spread, and that's the consistency that we love. Thanks to Nutrisource, this chicken and rice scoop of food here. She loves the Nutrisource treats, and her digestive health is as regular and great as it's ever been. We've had her for almost a year now, and thanks to our friends at Nutrisource, she loves everything almost too much. Like she starts to push dinner time up and starts to paw at us around 2:15 in the afternoon. Like, it's not time yet. We know you love Nutrisource. Look at Stella.
Stella does too. Look at that good girl. Who's a good girl? Stella. Except for today, I think she woke me up at, I want to say it was 5:50 a.m. Why? Because she wanted her Nutrisource, Maya and Stella on the exact same page, which is get out of bed and feed me now because my food is delicious. And then, of course, when she goes outside and comes in, Stella gets the training rewards treats as well. She's about 12, but you know what? She is in great shape, great digestive health. Why? Because of our friends at Nutrisource.
NutrisourcePetFoods.com to find a retailer near you. NutrisourcePetFoods.com. All right, let's move into the third category here, state of the offense. And this is from Declan. You brought this up earlier this week on the show. I'm gonna bring it back up, and then we can add to it too. So the category is third down analysis. All right. On the season, the Vikings rank exactly 16th smack dab in the middle in third down conversion rate. They're a 40% success rate on third down. So not terrible, not amazing. And maybe part of the reason why it's not amazing is the stat that Declan found. So the Vikings have, this is kind of crazy actually. The Vikings have run 190 third down plays this year. 88% of them are passes. On 3rd and 1 or 2, basically if it's not 3rd and 2, they're going to throw the ball. But even on 3rd and 1 or 2, as Declan brought up, the Vikings have run the ball 14 times, thrown the ball 32 times. So almost a 2-to-1 ratio of, actually more than that, right? More than a 2-to-1 ratio of passes to runs in third and short situations. But they're 12 for 14 when they run it in those third and shorts, and they're only 17 for 32 when they throw it. So logic would say, boy, if you just kind of went more 50-50 run the ball on third and short, you'd probably have a higher third down conversion rate. Or is there something to be said for if you lean too far into the run, the defenses are gonna come onto you and they're gonna sniff it out more often? I don't know.
I would love to see this stat tied in with that statistic. How many of the 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 passes have been attempted screens? Because it feels like the Vikings' inability until the Dalvin Cook touchdown to execute the screen game hurts them there. Because those are perfect screen opportunities, but again, I have never seen for a team that's coached by a good offensive mind. Have you guys ever seen a screen game be as ineffective as the Vikings was until that Cook play? So I'd love to know. I'd love to know how much they're trying to tie the screen game and being just flat out unsuccessful into that third down statistic.
And I love that. Is it the pass setting up the run? Is it Kevin O'Connell wanting to take more shots? I think long term, I like this. But also of the passes that have been converted on third and 2 or less to go, the average yards per pass is 3.9. So it's not like they've hit some home run plays. If they've hit some home run plays, I can take a lower percentage because, hey, if it's going to be a home run play on 3rd and 1, there's an opportunity. Go off and do it. Yeah. But most of these passing plays are resulting in just, hey, just a quick little edge. We get the first down. We're there. It's like, well, then just run the ball because it's working 85% of the time, at least right now in a smaller sample. Yeah. So that's where if you're going to pass it and you're going to get some home run plays, all right. But if the average yard per pass on those conversions is 3.6 yards, well, then just run the ball.
Yeah, I agree. I think even just like getting it more to a 50-50 split, you can't just run it all the time or they're going to catch on to that too. And here's another one. It's not third down. It's a second down analysis here. Remember one of the biggest complaints we had under Mike Zimmer for years was if they would lose yardage on first down, he would get all nervous and, oh, we took a penalty or we took a sack. Now we're going to run it on second and long because we messed up on first down. Well, when you run it on second and long, guess what you're setting up? Third and long.
Yep.
And then a 3 and out.
Yep.
So on 2nd and 11 or more, the Vikings have run the ball only 6 times all season this year. 2019, for example, the Vikings ran the ball 4 times as much on 2nd and 11 or more. It was like automatic, like twice a game. It was just, damn it. We lost yards on first down. Now we have to barrel into the back of a guard with Dalvin Cook or something on second down. So just some of this stuff, it just makes a little more sense. Like, oh, it's second and long. Well, let's not get conservative. Now we need to be more aggressive. Because now we need 6 yards to set us up in a third and manageable. And they at least KOC understands that aspect of play calling. Interesting.
Yeah, I would love to see, as I said, a breakdown of those third down calls. Like, what are they exactly? Are they 5-yard passes? Are they screens where you're trying to dink and dunk? Which if the screen game worked, that's fine. I think an effective screen game is so great because it is an extension of the run with basically a head start. So I'd love to see a breakdown of that. I feel like that's a thing too that can be fixed. Like, it doesn't concern me greatly. Like Zim's obsession with running on second and long was so ingrained. It's like, this is the most predictable thing. I feel like O'Connell will get answers for this and will actually tweak it and adjust it. And I bet a year from now, this statistic is very different.
And this is the 4th category here, and then we'll rank some teams. Second half monsters. Despite their failures in the third quarter, the Vikings are the 3rd highest scoring second half team in the NFL, behind Dallas and Kansas City. They are the highest scoring 4th quarter team in the NFL, averaging 9.5 points per 4th quarter.
Yeah, comeback kings, baby.
It's insane. So they're averaging 25 points per game, 9.5 in the 4th quarter. So take the other 15.5 or 16 points and spread them out over the other quarters, basically. So it's a good. I mean, I'd like the whole thing to just be like a monster for the whole game. But if you're gonna give me, all right, when is Kirk gonna be at his best and when is the offense gonna be at its best? I would say I guess I'll sign up for the 4th quarter, assuming that it's not all garbage time. And it has not been this season.
Until the Colts game, how do you explain the transformation from the 3rd to the 4th?
Like how bad they are in the 3rd and then how good they are in the 4th?
Yeah.
Just desperation, urgency. All right, we have to do it now, so let's go hunt for our best weapons. I mean, they just have to feel that earlier, I guess. Maybe they need to run more tempo in the 3rd quarter or something and just, all right, guys, let's create urgency. Mm-hmm. We got to go. So second half monsters. Vikings are one of the best second half scoring teams. Third down analysis could be better. Maybe run the ball more. Justin Jefferson leads the NFL in about a bajillion categories. And Kirk is different in a lot of ways late in close games. So there's your state of the Vikings
Good stuff.
offense. All right, boys, it's time for us to rank teams. It's our Declan, I'll let you pop this up here. It's the Pigskin pecking order, where we rank the 10 best teams in the NFL according to us, the Vikings Twitter CEO, the Purple Daily clickbait officer, Declan,
Hello.
and the Purple Daily chief beverage distribution officer, Judd.
Drink
A lot of
this early.
controversy on this one.
Don't forget.
Controversy.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
They-
Toward the
Yeah.
bottom half.
yes.
Oh, so
Yes.
The Philadelphia Eagles remain number 1 in our pigskin pecking order.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by the Kansas City Chiefs. Not a lot of change here. Buffalo Bills third.
interesting.
Yeah, Declan, you were the only one who had the Bills as an outlier here. You had the Bills at, let's see
5.
here, 5th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Judd and I have the same 1, 2, 3. Actually, Judd and I have the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh wow, look at you guys.
San Fran 4. You have San Fran 3rd. You've gone from not believing
Yeah.
in San Francisco 2 weeks ago. Now they're one of the 3 best teams in the league.
They're
Dex is
unbelievable.
just
Winning
all
quarterback.
in on Kyle Shanahan
Yeah.
and Brock Purdy.
Cincinnati Bengals 5.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys 6. Followed by the Minnesota Vikings 7. We'll get to where we all rank them in a second.
Yep.
8th, Baltimore Ravens. A lot of quarterback injury problems for them. Makes it kind of tough. 9, the Detroit Lions, now 7-7 on the season. And the Los Angeles Chargers round out our pigskin pecking order. The Chargers. Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Bengals, Cowboys, Vikings, Ravens, Lions, Chargers. Declan has the Vikings 6th. Judd has them 7th. I have them 8th. So what are you guys thinking? I'll give you one more thing here on the Lions, because they inevitably went and beat a good Jets defense on the road, as you guys all mocked my rankings last week. So I moved the Lions up to 7th. I think they are the 7th best team in the NFL right now, and the Vikings are 8th. Judd had the Lions 10th. Declan did not, still not believing in the Lions. You have them outside of your pigskin pecking order.
They're probably, the first OLI. They're the first outlier there, but I got it. I just got to see it a little bit more. I think the Chargers, Dolphins are better teams than the Lions. I think they're better playoff teams than the Lions. That makes sense.
Dolphins make me a little nervous, man. I don't know that the Lions and the
They might
Dolphins
be
might
frauds.
both be watching the playoffs on the outside if they don't.
That's true.
The Lions have to keep, the Lions probably have to win out.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are fighting now at the bottom of the wild card standings.
AFC, man.
I dropped the Dolphins out, if I'm not mistaken. I put Detroit 10th, as you said. I still have Dallas, if I'm not mistaken exactly, where this list does, which is 6 and the Vikings 7.
Yep.
I'm struggling a little bit, though, because Dallas embarrassed the Vikings here, which broke my tie there, and it moved the Cowboys up. But we're sort of seeing the Cowboys go full McCarthy, aren't we? These last 2 games, they barely got by the Texans, and then they lose. And the defense now has gone on the fritz. The defense has not been good. Like this feels like another very McCarthy. In fact, it might be McCarthy's last stand, because if they get bounced in the first round, I think he's gone.
What's their schedule?
But Dallas it was not nearly as easy for me to put the Vikings behind the Cowboys this week as it was a week ago. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. It's so hard because sometimes the head-to-heads throw you off a little bit, but the NFL is weird like that. So the Cowboys, they're in, I think, but they don't have gimme games left. So they have a home game against the Eagles, and then at a desperate Titans team, and then at a desperate Commanders team. So could you see a world in which they just lose 4 straight games, finish 10-7, fall down the wild card standings?
Hurts probably misses this week's game, from what it sounds like. I think worse. It sounds like that injury is not the worst case scenario for them. So he probably is in jeopardy of not playing this Saturday. So that makes life a little easier for Dallas. But yeah, those next 2 games for them are going to be tough.
It's Minshew time, baby. That mustache
That's
going to
true.
get broken
Gardner.
out.
He loves Minshew.
He'll get you one feisty performance if you need it, right?
I think the top 5 are pretty simple. Like, I didn't struggle with that. After that, I think it gets very difficult.
It does. And the Vikings record should put them higher, but it's just like, that last game against the Colts, what do you do with that? It was amazing. The comeback was incredible. The second half was ridiculous, but the first half existed.
And you just lost to Detroit, which is not a black mark against you, but it's definitely a demerit.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a demerit. The Lions are a very good team.
Yeah.
It's weird to wrap your head around because they started 1-6, but the Lions are like one of the 3 hottest teams in the NFL the last 2 months.
And Baltimore has gone on the fritz. 3 points. Boone's guy, Giro's in trouble. They're calling for his head.
Man. What's going to happen with the NFC South? So right now, the Buccaneers are 6-8, but the other 3 teams are 5-9 right behind them. So someone's going to, my guess is 8 wins. There's definitely going to be a below 500 unless the Buccaneers win out. And the Buccaneers do have at Cardinals, home Panthers, and then at Falcons. So
there's no gimmies. In that division, it's just awful.
So they could finish. They could finish 8-9 and win the division, or if they finish 8-9 and like the Saints run the table, I'd have to see what the tiebreakers are, because the Saints are the only team that doesn't play the Buccaneers in that division the rest of the way. So, man, it's going to be interesting. You're going to have a below 500 team likely hosting a playoff game in the wild card round.
Again, if we're going to allow, which we now do, 7 teams per conference, can we find a way to fix this a little bit? Like, I complain about this every year, but that division does not deserve to be represented in the playoffs.
Well, then what's the point of divisions? You can't say that. You can't have.
I know.
If you have divisions, if you win a division, you should get in as.
I don't have the fix.
I'm
looking for a person smarter than me to fix the glitch, man.
But this doesn't happen a lot. It's very. How many times has a below 500 team won a division?
More. Well, we've had more and more teams make the playoffs now because we're eventually probably going to go to 8 teams, right? Eventually, I'm just saying I would love to see it fixed so that a team that is as bad. I mean, the South is the East from the last 2 years. It's just abysmal.
Well, the problem with going to 8 teams is you're going to wind up with below 500 teams anyways as wildcard teams. You know, how often do you have 8 above 500 teams in the NFL?
I just want to fix somehow. I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of watching. I mean, that division.
It can't just be a 1-year blip. It needs to be fixed. Damn
it's just a bunch of bozos. Well, it's not 1 year though, because and yes, when they go to 8 teams, no, it's not. We've had the East the last 2 years. I think has been absolutely
below 500.
In the NFC,
I want to say the Commanders, the first year of the Super Wild Card weekend, I believe the Bucs went in there and they were a below 500 team.
Didn't Seattle?
Seattle was like 14 years ago.
Yeah, the Beastquake game. I think
happened in 2000, the Washington did it in 2000. They went 7-9.
Okay.
I don't want
the Cowboys were good last
year.
Waste
a lot of time here.
The Cowboys went like 11-5 last year, or 11-6. They were not below 500 last year.
Okay.
Homework assignment for the YouTube commenters. How many teams have won a division below 500 ever, or in the last 20 years? Does it need to be fixed?
Send your idea to Roger Goodell. R. Goodell.
Speaking of fixing things, maybe Finch Home Solutions can come up with a fix for this playoff conundrum.
Of course they can. You know why? Because they're incredibly smart. They can take care of the problems that guys like Judd can't. And it takes only one call to my friends at Finch Home Solutions to get any electrical issues in your home solved. Christmas lights on the fritz. Oh boy, it's almost Christmas time. Guess what? Finch solves that. You're going to put in a hot tub. Well, if you're going to put in a hot tub, which is absolutely fantastic, you need electrical work there. Flickering lights again. Finch to the rescue. Don't wait until something goes wrong. Finch also is offering a free home safety inspection to all of our listeners. Be sure to tell them that you heard about Finch on Score North, because there are special deals for you if you do. You can call them 612-357-2604, 612-357-2604, or go to finchhomesolutions.com. Finchhomesolutions.com, That's where your electrical problems get taken care of. Don't DIY it. Make sure it's done right.
Thanks to our friends at Federated for helping us power through the last few years here, building our business at Score North. Purple Daily, Mackie and Joe, we appreciate their guiding hand for us. And if you want to tap into over 100 years of expertise, experience, relationship building, Federated is here to help your business blast off, hopefully, in 2023. It's like having a great offensive line for your business, risk management, tools and resources galore. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, dudes, that's a wrap on this State of the Offense Thursday on a Tuesday episode of Purple Daily. You can find Before We Die with Jesse and Thor, Realistic Randy Rants with Declan, and sometime, I believe tonight, maybe sometime midweek here, Boone and I are going to connect for a Trenches episode off of that ridiculous comeback victory and some other things too. So Purple Daily podcast feed and YouTube channel is where it's at for daily Vikings entertainment. Thank you guys for sticking with us all throughout this incredible season. We'll see you tomorrow for some predictions.